What's up, YouTube?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's good.
What's up, YouTube? Hello. So this is Time Trumpet. I have, just so you know, I've employed the use of a second camera, which records me looking at this camera, sort of from the side, and that looks really good, doesn't it? On people's sites, it makes it look really professional. And so I'm doing that, so I hope that helps in some way with views. This is Time Trumpet, and people don't really watch these much. It's the third one I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway because I like it. So there you go. Let's dive right in, shall we?
What did you enjoy most? Years 2005, 6, 7, 8 and 9.
I guess what I most enjoyed in the year 2005 to 9
Hello, I'm doing a video,
was
so maybe
the War on Terror.
get off the
Today,
phone.
in 2031, we've got so used to 30 years of terror that some of it no longer scares
can you
us.
not do- I'm on video.
But at the time, people were genuinely scared.
Now and again, you
my
think,
wife.
"Oh, this bloody terror," you know. "Oh, all this terror," you know. And you often hear people say that. You know, you say, "How are you doing?" "All right, apart from all this terror, this wretched terror."
And they had every right to be scared. The war on terror was one the government was losing. This policeman should have arrested this suicide bomber instead of giving him directions to Buckingham Palace. And though we'd eliminated the threat of the enemy flying planes into buildings, no one was prepared for terrorists flying 2 buildings into the sides of planes. No one was killed, but a lot of people were surprised. But 30 years ago, Tony Blair and then Gordon Brown got through no fewer than 24 Home Secretaries in trying to combat terror. Between them, they tried to come up with as much legislation as possible to stop terror.
We banned rucksacks, but it had very little effect, so we had to go further and ban buses and trains.
That only had a limited effect, so we decided in the end to ban all forms of transport.
So people would walk from city to city, but as we had already banned rucksacks, they couldn't bring any supplies, and a lot of people died from dehydration.
Well, we actually asked TV and radio programmes to include bomb threat plots within their storylines. They had a dirty bomb go off in Balamory. People never forgot that, never.
We got a lot of people in. We got movers and shakers from the entertainment industry. We got Richard Curtis in to do a special Vicar of Dibley sketch with Dawn French and that idiot blonde woman who kept asking Dawn, does Allah approve of bombing and bombers?
Well, the joke was meant to be that in a West Country accent it came out like bumming and bummers.
There have been more angry protests in Muslim countries. Here, several hundred protesters marched through central London.
These were waiting for worshippers when they arrived at the mosque in Regent's Park in London for the midday prayer. Many people didn't like them. The mosque's own security people were also unhappy and made them take the placards out onto the street.
I remember people started saying things about Muslims, like, "Oh, Muslims are very nice, aren't they?" People would often drop that into conversation just in case anyone was listening who might, you know. And you have all sorts of non sequiturs. People would say, "That's £1.70, please," and "I like Muslims."
Good morning. Imagine yourself heaven.
Commentators at the time argued that Islam
It's easy if you try.
was radicalized by the actions of this man who invaded
No hell below us.
Iraq.
Above us, only sky. I'd like to end Guantanamo.
But he didn't. And 30 years on, Guantanamo Bay still exists. A whole city has developed with shops and schools for the inmates' children. Everyone's still bombarded day and night with white noise and the phrase, "You are nothing."
You're nothing.
But there are now luxuries allowed, like mobile phones.
You are nothing. You are nothing.
So bad it's good, that was the
nothing.
sort of catchphrase, I think.
You're nothing.
Other inmates work here professionally, and some have even gone into the army.
You're nothing.
You are nothing.
Guantanamo even has its own TV station, pumping out its biggest variety hit, Guantanamo Madhouse.
You are nothing.
A number of Iraqis went on record as saying this is like the Isle of Man now. Stop this.
Imagine all the people living for today. The colored girls city. Take a walk on the wild side. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right, I think that...
Meanwhile, the war on terror was getting more terrifying.
You met a foreigner, you'd pretty much assume he was going to kill you. And that had a big effect on things like the World Cup. Much less kind of emphasis on this is a festival of football. Much more emphasis on, we'll probably all die here, let's hope to get out of this alive.
Despite best efforts, undercover terrorists were still breaching security.
When he came on, there was something in his eye. I knew there was something funny. And I turned to Porsche and I said, he's going to blow himself up. And he did.
Now, here's the man who brings the two halves together, Dale Winter.
Meanwhile, the entertainer Vic Reeves was arrested for smuggling enriched uranium from Kurdistan. Britain went paranoid as more Home Secretaries came up with legislation to stop terror.
We arrested Scary Spice.
We also arrested someone called Terry.
There'd be strip searches at things like the cinema and the ballet. So people got used to just walking around with nothing on because they knew that it was the only way you could tell someone was definitely not a terrorist.
And there was more criticism of the police when they shot a completely naked man because they thought he looked like a van packed with explosives.
His family came over all together for the funeral, but unfortunately they came by coach.
When the coach drew up, the policeman thought it was a rucksack.
So he blew it up in a controlled explosion. He knows now he did wrong.
The next day, 19 of Gordon Brown's Home Secretaries resigned.
Are we over scared?
I'd say we're over scared. Oh, sorry, you just said that.
I just said that.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
So what we did in the end, we placed a ban on people being terrified.
How did you...
Well, we got the police to kind of put on beards and put in suspicious packages on buses and tubes and see if anyone was terrified and arrest them. Then we extended it to the cinema. We had agents go in to watch horror films and arrest anyone who looked terrified. And they arrested a whole number of people on Final Destination 3, but we couldn't make it stick. I mean, I think the fault with that was that Final Destination 3 wasn't really scary enough. I mean, the problem to me was the title. How can you have a sequel of a film when you have finality embedded in the central concept and indeed in the title?
To my mind, when Final Destination 2 was released, the original Final Destination should have been renamed Penultimate Destination.
Anyway, that's beside the point. I mean, the thing was, it wasn't scary enough, so we couldn't make the charges stick.
Ironically, it was because no news was now being broadcast that the war against terror was finally won. Since no atrocities were being reported, people were no longer terrified.
By the end of it, it was almost... You sort of almost like the terrorists. You might see one in a public library or something and you'd have a bit of banter. Oh, what are you reading? And you'd go, it's a terror, it's a jihad notebook or something. It was fun, you know, it was kind of fun.
And with the war on terror won, it was time to celebrate.
And so, to our first award. Terrorism can be a lonely business and a long, hard struggle.
Our three finalists in this category are...
Landmine destroyed a Russia bus in Tel Aviv's main street, Dizengoff. The attempted attack in London.
How many of you are saying I remember of that.
The BBC soon apologised for this show and shut down for a week.
Now, please welcome Heather Mills.
I mean, we've now had terror for 30 years. How do you think that's affected us?
Well, it solved the obesity problem because, you know, people were shitting themselves 8 or 9 times a day, and that actually helped for a lot of people.
Maybe just for the pre-watershed market.
Yeah.
We should say something instead of shit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Crap themselves, shat themselves,
Okay.
defecated, emptied themselves.
Well, it solved...
Evacuated themselves.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go for that one.
Okay.
I suppose the main thing was it solved the obesity problem because, you know, people evacuated their bowels about 8 or 9 times a day.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Oh, I love it. Oh, wonderful. Nice little slice of Time Trumpet there. So thank you. I mean, it's just... do you remember the good old days when it was unusual for a news story to go on for years and years? In the last decades, Brexit went on for about 5 years. Then we pretty much stopped talking about that. It was bloody COVID, wasn't it? 3 years of that shit. Now it's the Ukraine war. It's just one long news story after another, and it's it's a shame. Time Trumpet is brilliant. I hope you enjoyed it. I was going to say lots of other things, but this is quite long, and to be honest, I'm bored myself even recording it, so I can't imagine anyone's going to really enjoy watching it. But anyway, good. So thank you, and don't nobody go nowhere.